strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ? Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal?
If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live, and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis program. I'd love, that sounds like a...
Old, I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of Trash Talk knows...
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Ryder.
All right, what's going on, everybody? We are back with a jam-packed panel, and we have UK's finest from across the pond, Bass the Kid. And we have Mike, the Mountain Montero, has returned after a long hiatus, man. Welcome back, Mike. And once another guy coming back from a long hiatus. We got the Mighty Ring IQ joining us, D-Style Boxing as always, and we have Cholo Trucker. So let's jump right in. Big week. Very good cards this week after that drought we've had these past weeks. And the big one, Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang, repeat of revenge. And the boxing public is pretty much split down the middle on this one. I thought Joyce was coming on in the fight before the fight was stopped with the eye. We all know Zhang has those stamina problems. If you look at the odds, this one is tight right down the middle. Bass, what do you think, man? Any surprises here? Do you think it's going to be a repeat, or do you think Joyce can turn this one around?
Well, I had to give my initial pick for this email league that I'm in on Wednesday. So I normally like to wait until after the weigh-in. However, let me say this. I saw Joyce today, right? He looks bigger than I've ever seen him. And I don't necessarily say that in a good way. He looked like he had a bit of a gut. So I think he may have put on a bit too much weight, which means that I think he might be slow foot-wise. I mean, hands, I've always said, look, he's got a pretty fast jab. It's his backhand that's slow, but he's always had quick feet. I don't think the feet are going to be that quick on the weekend. So my initial thought is that it's going to be repeat, and it might even be sooner than it was last time. Okay.
Mike, I agree with Bass in the sense that I never thought this was like a size thing why he lost the first fight. I thought it was kind of maybe a strategy thing. He was caught off guard a little bit. I thought that he gave Zhang a little bit too much space. I thought he needed to kind of close the gap a little bit, and he reacted a little bit slower, whether that's due to Zhang's hand speed or not. But do you agree with Bass a little bit that this whole notion of just packing on the pounds for the sake of being bigger, just for the sake of being bigger, like being big for nothing, in other words, is that going to kind of work against him in this fight, you think?
It could. I just, when I look at this rematch, Zhang, he pretty much did everything he can do in that first fight. I don't take anything away from him, but we saw the peak of Zhang. I thought he's going to be beaming with confidence, and he's going to be even a little bit better in this fight maybe, but I want to see what Joyce can do with the adjustments. He doesn't move his head. He doesn't move side to side, but he can narrow the gap. He can close the distance. He can do that. And I want to see in this fight, when Zhang throws those straight shots at him, if Joyce can get inside and then do some work. If he can do that in the early rounds, then I think he has a real chance in this fight. The odds makers really, really tell the story here, because you would think, like on paper, this would be like really, really wide in Zhang's favor, and it's not. That tells me that the guys that do this for a living and really, really know what they're talking about, they see that this is tight. I think Joyce has a real chance here. I really, really do. I guess on paper you have to favor Zhang maybe slightly, But I'm telling you, Joyce has a real chance here, and it would not surprise me if Joyce pulled this out. It really wouldn't.
Got you. Shout out to Chauncey Pearls with the $4.99 super chat. He said, "Sup, homies. Hope everyone is well." Shout out to the panel in the chat. Keep up the good work. Shout out to you, Chauncey, as well. Yeah, I think it's the size that Joe Joyce is going to try to use when he does get close. I think he's going to try to use some of those Tyson Fury tactics on the inside, lean on Zhang a little bit and try to slow him down, because we do know Zhang does fade late in the fight. And if Joyce can kind of exasperate that and kind of push that along even further early on by leaning on him, I think that could be part of the plan here. Size going to be a helper or a hinder here, in your opinion, Ring?
Well, I feel like the size is kind of besides the point, because it's defensive deficiencies that costed him the fight. If you've seen Joyce in the amateurs, if you saw him in that semi-pro tournament, he don't move his head. And he's 38, so it's hard to imagine yet. Like now at 38, now you're gonna move your head. Nah, the most, and I've said this more than once, the biggest adjustment that he should have made, and we'll see if he makes it, I don't know, is change the guard. Instead of a high guard, use a cross guard so that you could catch those counter shots on the forearm. And I don't know if Salas is going to tell him to do that, but it's because I have such a high opinion of Salas that I'm like, look, it wouldn't surprise me, just like Mike said, it wouldn't surprise me if he win, because Salas is actually a really, really fucking smart guy. Yeah. And he has to know that, look, Joe's not going to learn how to move his head after one camp. That was 5 months ago. So he's not going to have the muscle memory for that. But what he can do is change the guard, change which guard you're using. Then maybe he can't hit that eye so easy. I am leaning towards Zhang. I am, because I'm like, while Zhang has a shitty gas tank, he was about to knock Joe out. There was moments where he got off that backhand and Joe looked like he was about to go out. So I'm leaning towards Zhang. I'm a little on the fence, but I'm like, look, gun to my head, I'll go Zhang.
Yeah, the Ring's right. Salas has always been a good strategist, and it's almost impossible to believe that he's not going to come up with a different game plan for this fight than they had for the first. But I don't know. I had that fight 3-2 for Zhang before it was stopped. I gave Joyce that 5th round. I saw Zhang huffing and puffing. I kind of saw the tide turning, so I'm actually leaning the other way here with Joyce. Am I wrong?
No, I believe I saw the same thing. I think the tide was going to turn, but unfortunately the eye was too messed up. It was a good stoppage. Zhang caused the eye, so I'm not saying he didn't win properly, but in a rematch, I have to assess that. Ismael Salas is a architect when it comes to setting up game plans, and he's going to set one up here for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't know what the weight thing's about. I need to look at him myself. But what I will say this, I think putting on weight can help him. If he puts more weight on his punches, he could make Zhang think a little bit in there. Those little milliseconds matter a lot in boxing. And I think that could be part of that game plan. What Joyce needs to do here is jab. Use that hammer fist jab that he used very well against, against, man, his name escaped me, but Dubois, man. Okay, but he did a good job using the hammer fist jab against Dubois, and he messed up Dubois' eye in that fight. Okay, so it is what it is, but I will say this. I agree with Montero. If you could cut distance, all right, and get on the inside and work the body more in this fight, I think he could tire out Zhang. Zhang's gas tank is not the best, while I know for a fact Joyce's is. And I think as long as Joyce can avoid another eye injury in this fight, he should win this fight. And boxing is a very circumstantial sport. You have to ask yourself, how likely is it that his eye is going to get messed up again? How likely is that? I don't think it's very likely. I'm not putting any bank on that whatsoever. I am very confidently picking Joe Joyce to win this fight by late round stoppage. I think Joyce wins it.
Yeah, I agree.
Juggernaut.
I agree. Cholo, so much is made about the eye, and even Zhang's talking about the eye. He even motioned to Joe Joyce's eye during the face-off, kind of looked at it and kind of said he was going to go there again. Is he focusing too much on that eye, hoping that eye closes again? Because what happens if it doesn't? Is he putting all his eggs in one basket there? What are your thoughts?
Well, look, he could just be playing mind tricks, right? Saying that I'm going after that eye, but that's what I want you to think. I'm actually going to go after something else. But I mean, that right eye was pretty jacked up, and it was. I mean, this fight took place in April. I mean, how well is that eye for real?
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
big
this
question.
fight is taking place in Wembley's arena this time, as opposed to what was it, Cooper Box Arena. I got Zhang on this one. Yes, there's the gas tank problem. Joyce coming in, much bigger. Is he gonna use that weight? Is he gonna clinch? Is he gonna lean on him, try to tire him out? That's probably the only thing I can really see for Joyce in this fight, to really try to tire him out. However, Zhang knew that his tank is running pretty low. So I'm not really sure what else Zhang can really do other than work on his conditioning. But if that conditioning is just a little bit more up to par, I got Zhang on this one. The only reason I would go Joyce if it goes the distance, possibly even stop him. But outside of that, I'm sure Zhang knows that, hey man, I really got to get my conditioning up to par. The extra weight on Joyce, what does that mean? I don't know. How well is his conditioning with that extra weight? Is he just going to use it just to lean on Zhang to try to tire his legs out? Is that just going to be the one trick pony trick in there for Joyce? Let me just try to tire him out. Because if that's what he's going in there as the game plan, he's probably going to be losing a lot of those early rounds, just trying to tire him out.
Yeah.
I just want people to notice, actually, if you obviously you'll see it on the weigh-in tomorrow, but don't be surprised if he doesn't end up being in like the mid 280s.
That's what I heard,
we're
Base.
talking.
Wow.
I was
the thing
listening
is,
to.
he's never been at that weight before.
No, it's like
And
270.
if you remember the Joseph Parker fight, even though like obviously he was being methodical and consistent, he was tiring in that fight as well. So him carrying extra weight that he's never been used to, that could be a problem. So it's not just about Zhang's tank; it's about his tank handle the weight.
And Zhang has the confidence. Zhang has the confidence.
Confidence
because
is big.
It's like, I know I could hurt you. I know I could hurt you. So this time, when instead of just letting that backhand go, I might bring something behind that, because I know I could hurt you. I know I can. So I think Zhang also knows that, like, look, this is a Frank Warren show. You know, Frank would love for him to win this fight because his other boy just lost. Daniel just lost. I need Joe to win. So Zhang ain't no dummy. Zhang know what he signed up for. Like, bro, I wanted Hrgovic because I knew he's ass. And I wanted Joe because I knew, like, yo, you a sucker for a counter. You a sucker. Your head going to be right there in the middle.
Are we underrating Zhang?
I think so.
I've asked myself. I've known him for years, guys. My wife is Chinese. Okay, I'll just put it that way. I've known him when he was a prospect, and I've been talking to him for years. And a lot of people counted him out and called him a bum and all this kind of stuff. And when after this fight, he kind of blew up a little bit. But again, the odds makers, are we discounting him?
I'll tell you this, Mike.
I think sometimes the odd makers don't know what they're talking about. Some odds makers you get
know, bro. No, but the odds makers know this. If Joe can survive the first 6, it's his fight to win.
I'm gonna say this. Okay. I'm gonna say this. We could be overestimating Zhang, and I'll tell you why. Because he was in charge. He won a lot of early rounds against Hrgovic, but he lost a lot of late rounds that made that fight closer than it should have been. So
that's a fair point.
People do creep back up on Zhang in the second half. He's 40 years old. He hired a strength and conditioning coach specifically for this fight. So he may have acknowledged something is wrong with the conditioning, or at least, at the very least, it needs to be worked on. He's 40 years old. I don't know, man. I've never seen Joe, like, I know what you're saying, Base. He did fade a tad bit, but he's kind of did pick it up, like maybe in the last the last round or two before that he actually stopped Parker. He kind of picked it up a notch, so he did have to dig deep and go into another gear. But he always does go into another gear. what happens with Zhang is he always gets off to a fast start and puts a lot of the early rounds in the bank, and then guys play catch up on him, and then it kind of makes the fight a little bit more interesting.
I think the word here is going to be patience. Like Joyce has to be patient in the first 4 or 5 rounds, right? Whether that early storm, because once you get past that 6th round mark, I think the confidence you guys are talking about that Zhang has is going to start to dwindle, and you start wondering, why isn't this guy's eye messed up, and why isn't he almost out of here like the last time? Once that happens, and once Joyce is like, seeing that this guy is slowing down, he's going to be in trouble. Joyce, late round
because the adjustment Joe has to make is.
Those could be some long 5 first rounds, though, man. I mean, 5, 6 rounds. Those could be some long rounds right there that you're just gonna. You didn't say give up, but if that's just the thing for him, it's just patience and him bringing up the right eye over and over and over.
The odds makers have it even. The odds makers have it even because they know that as crazy as it sounds, the adjustment Joe has to make is not a big one. It's nothing dramatic either.
It's going to be a tale of 2 fights ring, first half versus second half. It's a tale of 2 fights.
If he's a little bit more poised and he keeps that hand high to protect that eye, just jab. Fuck it, just give away them early rounds.
Coming, right? You know what punch is coming. When you know which punch is coming, you can game plan for that.
Yeah. Plus
it's up to Zhang which sounds crazy. He won the first fight. I think it's up to Zhang to make the adjustment and add the hook behind the straight punches, something else to give Joyce something to react to. Because if it's the same shot, Joyce he's gonna plan for that. So
if Joyce gets inside, he's gonna have something up close to be able to deal with Joyce too as well.
I mean, the logical punch is an uppercut. The logical punch.
He's going to need an uppercut. Yeah, he's going to need an uppercut.
Yeah. That would be the way to go. But
it would get some work done.
I just wonder, is Zhang overconfident? Because it's like, this dude legit is used to getting slept on. Like, he got slept on in a Hrgovic fight. He got slept on in this fight. And it's like, remember,
he's got a chip on his shoulder.
He not no dummy, though. He is an Olympian. He is an Olympian. He come from that. You know what I mean? He's not no dummy. So I see why the odds makers have it that way. I do see why.
Speaking of confidence, like what we need to note here is that it looked like Zhang Fury was about to happen, and then we know what happened. Joyce activated the rematch clause, so they must feel they could win this fight, or they wouldn't have activated their rematch clause.
Bear in mind, though, Zhang might remember he already kind of feels disrespected that you've activated. He said, "Look, I'm a man of my word. Contractually, I have to do this, but you've cost me a Tyson Fury fight, so that might be more impetus."
That's true. That's true, Baze.
It could get him off his game, though. That could get him off his game. If he was looking for the bigger payday and the bigger fight, it could get him off his game.
Yeah, but don't they both feel that way? Because in Joyce's case, he's like, you cost me. I was about to get my title shot, and you beat me, and so they both had that same motivation, in my opinion.
I guess, but for Joe, I wonder what the headspace for Joe is like, because Joe is one of them dudes. You could tell Joe is one of them dudes that you'll fuck with him, and then he'll get mad one day and just beat the shit out of everything. Because he don't say a lot. He has a good poker face. It's hard to get a read on him. I don't know how he feel right now. Looking at him. I seen the press conference. I'm like, I don't know how he feel right now. Does he feel a sense of urgency? Is he calm because he knows I got this motherfucker. I know how to beat this motherfucker. I
don't know, man. I gave Joyce two of those 5 rounds. It was 3-2. I thought he won the 5th. I don't know, man. Zhang won the rounds he won big. Don't get me wrong, but Joyce was coming back, man. I just think people.
No, we know if it makes it past the 6th, Zhang is gonna fade. We know that.
He's gonna fade.
Bear this in mind. Bear this in mind. If you look at obviously Joyce, remember he even said he kind of bought into his own hype a little bit about the chin and everything, right? Now, if you look and you say to yourself, okay, I actually didn't think I could get hurt, and I know this guy can hurt me. That also might make him hesitant when he's in there.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
aura of
and that
invincibility.
might mess him up as well. Unless he needs to be able to get that out of his mind to execute his game plan, rather than
Yeah.
that's coming back at me. Damn.
Well,
So
You're making good points,
if
Base. You're making good points, man. I mean, there's an argument for both ways, and you're a good argument for the.
this is
Shit,
gonna
I
be a
almost
great fight.
don't
I
want to
can't
call
wait to be
I
there.
almost don't want to call it because I'm like, yo, you know what? I could see Zhang losing. I can, but I could
Yeah.
see Joe getting knocked the fuck out because all Zhang got to do, and these guys is not dummies, bro. All Zhang got to do is, okay, I know I could pop him with my backhand. All I got to do is put something on top of that. Because the backhand was about to get him out of there. Just off the counter, the backhand was about to get him out of
You
there.
can feint the backhand and load the front hand, right? Yeah.
He know I'm faster than Joe, at least in the first 6. My punches are snappier than
Feint up
Joe.
top, come up
Defensively,
underneath.
he's better than Joe. That's the other thing. That it's not like Zhang was going out there doing some wild shit. He was catching and shooting. High guard, catch and shoot.
Catch. Yeah.
And look, it's just
All right.
going to take a little bit of damage on that right eye. Mentally, everybody involved, the referees, the judges, everybody involved, just a little bit of damage on that right eye to get people thinking like, oh man, you know what?
Yeah.
Should we stop it?
Chisora said the same shit. He was like, yo, that eye is not healed. That was 5 months ago. He's like, yo, that eye is not healed.
It was in April. It was in April.
When's the
All right,
last
we can-
time we've reviewed a fight that was 50-50 on a panel like this?
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Also, just last
That's a
before we
great
move,
fucking
just remember
problem to
this.
have.
One
Yeah,
last thing
let's
before
get
we
this
remember.
last point because we could do a whole
Yeah.
show on this. We get this last point.
I
from
know
the
because
Base.
he targeted the eye without the scarring around it. What if he goes for the other one?
Base is hitting it out of the
There's
park.
there's a lot to think about.
I always try to disagree with Base, but he's hitting it out of the park today.
For Zhang. Base definitely, if he don't got nothing else this weekend, he got Zhang. That's what I'm getting from
Yeah,
Base.
Base-
It's very
Base
Just
got
by
Zhang.
stoppage,
He's
take
bringing
it
the
to the
goods
bank.
tonight. He's bringing the goods.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's
By
move along
stoppage,
here.
take it to the bank.
Let's move along here, man, because this next topic created a shitstorm on Twitter, and there's a lot of pearl clutching, a lot of virtue signaling. I'm dying to hear everybody's take on this. Conor Benn is coming back this Saturday on the undercard of Zepeda versus Hitchens, and the Twitterverse is going bananas. So there's some people who are okay with it, other people are all up in arms. I mean, the guy's he's being allowed to fight. His ban has been lifted. It was a provisional ban that's been lifted. So I understand people's feelings on it from a personal viewpoint, but from a legality standpoint, the guy can fight. D-Style, what are your thoughts on Conor Benn being able to fight? And I don't know, man. What's your reaction to the backlash?
Well, look, people are free to feel however they want to feel. I don't mind that, but I just don't know how much of the feeling out there is authentic. Who am I to judge? You know, I'm sure some are not, but I just feel that there is some virtual signaling going on out here. That's my personal opinion. I've never, of all my years watching boxing, seen a reaction to a positive test like I've seen to Conor Benn. I mean, the first couple of months, I kind of shrugged at that thought and said, well, hey, it's fresh. That's why it feels that way. But here we are. It's been almost a whole year. And other fighters have tested positive. Yet the headline news when it comes to positive tests is still Conor Benn. Right? Still Conor Benn. And because they want him to do things that are not going to solve anything. You know, like, I don't know if they still want this, but they wanted him to go and talk to the British Border Control for what? We already know how it's going to go. What, just so we could watch the show? So we could watch all the window dressing go on for that? Well, he's going to sit there and say that that's not what he's about. And, you know, I'm a clean athlete and that's not how I was raised. And I would never do this. All this has been hard work, and they're going to bring up the findings. They're going to have him explain. He's going to say it was eggs or whatever, and then and then what? Well, what are we going to learn? Nothing. Everything we already know, everything that's already said is going to be said, right? They want him to confess, like what? For like no one has ever confessed. No boxer in history that I know of has said, all right, you know what, you guys cop. You know what I mean? I can't believe you fuckers caught me.
Kamil Sokolowski did. Kamil Sokolowski did.
Well, okay, one out of how many? Like, they don't sit there and say, man, I can't believe you guys caught it. And then they break down what they did, what they tried to do, but you caught me. That's not going to happen. Okay, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I cheated. They want this dude to beg to come back to boxing. That's what you want. That's what it is. Because plenty of guys have tested positive, right? Some of them have served some type of suspension, or they got, they hurt them out, whatever. All right, a lot of them get a slap in the wrist, and we keep them moving, right? Now, we could have a discussion about that. But when it comes to Conor Benn, we can't just live in an alternative universe and act like we're so strict about it with everybody else, because we're not, right? We just can't be doing that. And then people are just coming up with all this crazy stuff like, well, Eddie Hearn should have pulled the fight. And why is Eddie Hearn? Because Eddie Hearn's a promoter. That's why. Like, if you're looking for, good, like virtuous actions, right? You don't look at boxing promoters, right? There's a lot of people that do good in the world. No boxing promoter will ever get the Nobel Peace Prize. It will never happen, right? So if you're looking for them to be virtuous and all, it's not going to happen. Of course, Eddie's going to put him on the card if he could do it. Why not? He has a business to run. And Conor Benn is one of his biggest stars. So, like, why are people asking questions they know the answer to? If you're going to condemn Eddie for doing it, just condemn him. Stop asking stupid questions. All right? Me, personally, if his opponent's willing to do it, somebody go ask his opponent if he minds that he's going to be fighting Conor Benn this Saturday.
That's the other thing. That Chris Eubank was going to fight him anyway. That's why the whole shit is stupid to me. When he tested positive last year, Chris was going to fight him anyway. So if if he don't give a fuck, why should I?
Yeah, well, like, look, here's the thing. Go ask his opponent. Go ask him if he minds that he's fighting Conor Benn this weekend. Go ask him. Right, I'm sure he's not going to say, "Oh no, it's such a shame." I mean, I'm gonna get my check, but it's just a shame that this guy's allowed to come back to fight. No, you know what? I think that opponent is relishing his moment. Okay, and he could, if he upsets the apple cart, could become a name overnight. Right, so it is what it is. All I know is that it did enhance the card. He's allowed to fight. Don't tell me he's not, because obviously he is. Okay. If he wasn't allowed to fight, he wouldn't be fighting. All right. For everybody arguing on Twitter that he's not supposed to be fighting. He's banned. Well, obviously, he's going to be fighting. All right. Me personally, if I'm honest, I don't have an issue with him being back. At this point, he's basically served his term. I mean, it's been almost over a year. And it's a first time offense.
18 months.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going by when he was caught.
Sure.
But it's been 18 months he's been out of the ring.
Correct. Yeah.
First time offense. Okay, there. He gets a slap in the wrist. Okay, let's stop trying to lock dudes up for jaywalking. That's all I got.
Mike, let's kind of walk ourselves through the process. So when he originally was found out that he tested positive, UCAD gave him a provisional ban, and according to the protocol in the UK, when you have an issue with a decision from a drug test, you have the right to go to the appeal to the National Anti-Doping Panel in the UK, which is an independent tribunal. Right? He did that. That they cleared him. After they cleared him, UCAD lifted his ban, and then basically 21 days later, UCAD appeals that decision, and so does the British Board of Boxing Control. Now, I'm just going to quickly give you my take on this whole thing. So they're appealing the National Anti-Doping Panel's decision, right? And I'm saying to myself, so you're appealing the decision that they made, thinking that they're going to overturn their own decision. In my own opinion, I just think that this is a little bit of damage control from UCAD, a little bit of damage control from the BBOC, because they're getting all this negative backlash, and they realize that there's really nothing they can do once the National Anti-Doping Panel clears Benn. Now we can go through the motions and appeal, just so we let the public know, hey, we're doing something here. And even if ultimately he's going to get cleared, in my opinion, that's almost a given.
Yeah.
And so then what's going to happen is they're going to turn around and say, well, at least we tried to stop it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the granddaddy of the virtue signal, in my opinion. So you don't have to like the process, but the process was carried out, and through the process, he was cleared. What is your opinion on all this?
Wow. I could rant about this for an hour. This subject matter is something I delved into about a decade ago. And Joe, I've seen you delve into it a lot recently.
Yeah.
And once you start like peeling the onion back and seeing how different jurisdictions rule things differently and just the different rules, the double standards, it's fascinating. And you can really, it's this huge world that you can delve into. And it can, I know what you're going through right now, Joe, because I've seen you recently on social media posting a lot of stuff about this, right? And when you start give your opinion on it, people that won't necessarily retweet your shit or repost your shit, they'll call you because they're afraid, right? You don't have to say anything.
You know I got a phone call, right? You know I got
dudes have called you.
Yeah.
I know people from labs, from sanctioning organizations, from commissions have called you recently because you've been the guy recently talking about this.
One organization called me. I'm not going to say they all did.
All right.
Doing God's work, B.
I know exactly what you're going through because I did it about a decade ago. All right. And I became the drug testing guy after Gabe Montoya. I became the new guy talking about this stuff. And it got me a lot of backlash. It got me on the shit list. A lot of promoters and certain organizations tried to blacklist me and get me out of the sport. That's what happens if you delve too far into it. Trust me. But I thought it was worth it because I thought I was making a difference. And what you come to find out is it don't fucking matter. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, these guys are still going to do what they're going to do. People talk about steroids a lot. There's a few guys. Tyson Fury did steroids in 2015. I'll put that on record. I don't give a shit. He absolutely did steroids in 2015.
Yeah, he did.
When he got his best win, right? And then he found a way out of the rematch because he couldn't use steroids for the rematch.
Yeah.
But he used steroids for Christian Hammer, but not Vladimir Klitschko. Give me a... anyway, come on. So a lot of these guys, okay, some are doing steroids, but most of it is designer drugs designed to cut weight, help you rest and recover, help the ligaments and connective tissue heal, right? That's what most of this stuff is. And a lot of these guys are taking that kind of stuff, getting it from labs. They know how to mask it, but these labs are not cleaning the beakers. They're dirty labs. So they're testing positive for other shit that they didn't even mean to take. And they're like, what? Because they know the half-life cycle of the shit they are taking, and they know the math of it, and they're doing it correctly. But the other stuff that's contaminated in what they're taking, they're testing positive for. Yeah. So I got to a point where I realized, like, why am I stressing myself out about this? Why am I going so hard? Why do I give a shit? I'm kind of at a point where I don't care. A lot of these guys are using stuff. It's not steroids. It's weight cutters and things like that. You can tell who's doing it. As a guy who's competed in this sport, amateur and pro now, I could tell you I've sparred with guys who openly admit to me, yeah, dude, I'm doing TRT. You can feel the difference. You can feel the difference in their stamina, their legs, everything. You could just tell. So a lot of these guys are doing it, and you kind of sign the deal with the devil. Like you talked about Eubank. I know a couple of guys that were offered fights to fight Ben. I know a couple of guys that are personal friends of mine who were offered fights, and they turned it down because they kind of knew what was up, and they're like, yeah, I don't want this right now at this point in my career. You either sign the deal with the devil or you don't. And that's where we're at in this sport. And Joe, I wish you luck because I know you're going down that rabbit hole right now. All I'll tell you is, in the end, you're not going to make any difference, brother. I say that
Oh,
with
no.
respect.
All I'm doing is pointing out the hypocrisy and the misinformation. I'm not trying to change anything.
Most of the media has no idea
Yeah.
how this shit works. They have absolutely
Yeah,
and
there's just
I'm
a
talking
level.
about A-listers.
Yeah, there's just
No
a
idea.
level. There's just a level of misinformation that people are being brainwashed with.
Yeah.
And it gets
And
to
you
a
want to
point
correct
where-
it, right? You
it
want
just
to
gets
like
to a point where
I know what you're
I
feeling.
never really gave a fuck anyways, but what I don't like is just the ridiculous claims made that are not backed by science, but because one person said them, everyone just like ran with it.
I know what you're talking about.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I've gone down the same rabbit hole, bro.
he
Let me
completely-
tell you something. Me and my wife, when I still lived in LA, my girlfriend at the time, we drove to Vegas and we did it at our own expense. This wasn't even part of my Ring Magazine stuff or Boxing Monthly stuff. I just wanted to learn more about this shit. And I drove to Vegas and I met with certain testing officials, certain lab officials, certain commission officials at their house. We had a couple beers and just talked for hours. I spent time just talking to people and learning how this shit works. And when you learn how it all works, and then you think you're making a difference, and then you realize this is all just virtue signaling bullshit.
Bro,
Yeah.
it's all for appearance's sake. It's the real thing.
Absolutely.
It's appearance. If you get into what it really is, we have to pretend they're trying to clean up the sport. They're not.
They're
They're
not.
not.
Yeah.
What it is we have to appear
show.
like we're
Show.
doing something, because if we look like we're not doing anything, yeah, boxing could get the plug pulled on it. That's what it really is. That we gotta at least look like we trying.
That's what I
to
learned the
do
hard way.
something.
Absolutely.
That's why
Yeah,
I say it all the time. I'm for the peds. Shit, send me some peds. I'll use them. Austin, Columbia, I use them. TRT, give me that shit. I need that shit. I'm
Don't
40.
do it, dude. It's not worth it. Don't do that.
That shit. I'm trying to go out like Rich Piana.
Yeah, it's all politician moves, man. It's all politician moves.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. It's politician shit, because what do politicians do? They virtue signal and don't do as I say, or what is it? Don't do as I do as
Rules
I say.
for thee, but not for me.
Yeah,
Rules,
yeah,
you know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
Rules for thee. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, look, man, I'm gonna say this. Beeb hit the nail on the head the first time. The BBBOC is just trying to appear as if they're doing something. The reality of it is, and I said it last year, and I don't know if Eddie Hearn watched the relay or if Conor Benn watched the relay, but I said the way that
everybody,
I said the way Ben
watch this shit. I'm telling you right now, it's a small
they watch
world.
your shit. They watch your shit, Ring, because they quote.
Trust me.
I said, Ben, this is what Ben has working for him. You didn't fail a UCAD test. You failed a VADA test. All right. The BBBOC works in tandem with UCAD and adjudicates based on UCAD's findings. Well, UCAD didn't fucking find anything. VADA did. So that's your out to get out of this. You can't use lab results from an anti-doping agency you don't work with to issue out a punishment. You haven't done it in the past, and it may be a problem if you try to do that now. And that's how he got off. That I didn't fail a UCAD test. How you trying to punish me when, according to you, I should be clear? I should be clean and clear. I didn't fail none of your tests. This VADA shit is something separate from y'all. And that's more or less WADA NADP. Like, yo, you can't suspend him. You, UCAD, don't have a precedence to suspend him. So just like you said, I think eventually he's going to get cleared. There's nothing going to be done about it, and it'll be ancient history. What stands out is like y'all trying to end this kid's career is what I see. Y'all trying to end it. Like, it's almost like y'all mad that he's coming back. And I've always maintained the reason they doing this, I think they know that Ben has crossover appeal in the UK. AJ is on his way out, whether we like it or not, he is. The best successor is Conor Benn. He has crossover appeal. He's box office. They know that. So I've always felt the BBBOC is working with probably Frank or Ben to get this kid out of boxing. That's always been my theory.
And here's another quick point that aggravates the shit out of me. I know VADA can't adjudicate, right? But if you go on their website, they'll say, oh, well, we'll help you and educate you and make recommendations for you to be taken legal supplements to help you instead, so you won't have to use PEDs. Why can't they at least make a recommendation on punishment that they would impose? Like, in other words, we can't technically adjudicate this, but we're recommending you do this. They don't even do that. You know, that's
because it's up to the commissions, and it's
that's the
more
problem.
attention. It's more attention to boxing. You know that the commissions out here are all fragmented. There's fucking what, 51 of them, whatever number it is. They don't got time to be spending that much time on boxing. They ain't that worried about it. So it's never gonna be a point like they talk about, like, yeah, we want a world governing body. Yeah, I could tell you right now, that shit ain't gonna happen. Aliens will land before that shit happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not with every single fight in boxing. No, it's
Now the UFC, they have like 545 fighters, and they're signed up. They're all signed up to USADA. You can go on the USADA website. You can see how many times each fighter's been tested. The fighters that tested positive, you can see what they tested positive for. You can see what the actual punishment that was imposed upon them on their website. You can see that, right? It's all there, right? But VAD is not like that. So if you can't adjudicate, then what can you really do? If you're going to just sit there and say, okay, this is what happened, and you can't do nothing after that, then what good are you? So
all
at least
VADA is leverage. It's intel and it's leverage.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That, okay, Beeb, you tested positive for Osterin. Now what?
Yeah. I'll let you jump in, base man, because you've been sitting there. I want to get your take on this, because you're not really vocal on issues like this. But I'm curious to see what do you think about all this?
No, I've put out 2 videos over the last week regarding Conor Benn. The first one, I said, after hearing the interview we done with Seconds Out, I actually think he's guilty, but I don't necessarily think he's guilty of intentional, like, quote unquote steroid use, because the clone thing, I don't think he intentionally took it, but that interview made me believe that he knows someone in his team gave him something he didn't do his due diligence on, because he even said in there, like, throughout this process, people had to go. And that, to me, tells me that maybe someone, gave him a supplement and he didn't do his checks, and then he realizes that he actually maybe messed up. However, with regards to this, I also said the other day, quite frankly, I'm happy he's back, because regardless of anything, 18 months out of the ring, obviously he lost out on that massive payday. He's been doing VADA testing since, and all of that, I suppose, has come back clear. If it wasn't, they put all that stuff up on Twitter. They could tell you if you ain't passed it or whatever. He's had 2 different hearings from 2 different bodies. Obviously, clean boxing program, one with the WBC. He's gone through the UCAD situation. Whatever they've adjudicated on, the NADP have said, okay, suspension, the provisional suspension has been lifted. You are clear to compete, right? You're cleared now to box again, pending the appeal. If you remember, the BBBOC and all of that lot, they cleared him on the very last day they could clear him from that NADP hearing. Then they waited until the very last day that they could before they said, oh, well, we're going to make the appeal. And up until this point, there's been no date for this appeal, whatever. It's like, well, he's been out for 18 months. Are you saying that you want the 2 years? Is that really what it is you're after? Ultimately, right now, while he's cleared, and while you've had to actually tell the ABC and the Florida State Commission and the Texas State Commission that he's under no legal suspension to box now, he fights. Up until such a point as you have that appeal, obviously you can't really fight during the appeal itself. And if he then, fails the appeal and gets suspended, then cool. I've got no issue with that for whatever happens. But for right now, 18 months out the ring, that feels like a decent level of time for, clomiphene in this instance.
Trying to run him out of boxing, base. I'm trying
It's
to
a
tell
first
you.
time offense. It's a first time offense too, base. So
I mean, I feel like I said, look, there's been so many other tests that he's passed. He passed the UCAD test, so so it's not like he never had any UCAD tests. He had UCAD tests which he passed. So for you to still be on this, for something that you've never done previously. There's a mad agenda there, and again, they're going ham over a fight that didn't take place. Zolani Teti poleaxed Jason Cunningham in the ring inside 4 rounds, and he never got any comments, regardless of the fact he went through it and he's been suspended and like for 4 years.
Bro,
But there was no uproar about it in any way, shape, or form. Not even for a day over here.
bro,
And
the
I was
smoking
waiting. I
gun.
was waiting for TalkSport to talk about it.
The smoking gun.
Yeah,
Khan
none of
tested
it.
positive after
They spoke about that for one day.
For one day, right? It took a year for that to come out. It took a whole year for us to find out Amir Khan tested positive. But as soon as something happened with Conor, it's everywhere. So what I see is, I don't know if it's Ben, because Ben is a young guy, could be Frank, but I still believe there's a clandestine effort to get Conor out of boxing, because we all know AJ about to be out of here, maybe 2-3 years. The successor is Conor Benn, his crossover appeal, and they trying to get him out of here before he turn into something.
Let me let Cholo get in here real quick, man.
Go for it.
All right, first of all, Beeb, I believe in you, brother. Keep fighting the good fight. You know, you should have had you should have had Dan Rainfield on this panel for this subject, man. That would have been good.
Unknown caller.
Look, I will say, man, that Conor Benn, I think this is working. I like this. I like the fact that he's fighting on this side of the world, man. I'm a huge Conor Benn fan. Rodolfo Orozco, if he had a good life, it's about to get bad. If he had a bad life already, it's about to get worse. Conor Benn, man, speaking Espanol at the press conference was awesome, man. Just what you're seeing, Ring IQ. This kid, man, I mean, this guy, he's going to blow up, man. Big time, Holmes, just like Chewy says in Blood In, Blood Out. Big time, Holmes, big time. This guy's got it all, man. He's got the charisma. You know, he speaks Spanish. He speaks it very well, by the way. I was like, wait a second, did I just hear what I heard? You know, he was over there speaking Spanish, man. You know, he's got the cool style and everything. And he's very fun to watch. I've been missing, boxing has been missing Conor the Destroyer Benn. And he's coming over here on this side of the world, man, to come over here and knock somebody out, which I believe he's going to. This guy is going to make so many waves all over the sport of boxing, man. Everybody watch out because the Destroyer's back. I'm a big fan, huge fan. And this fight's happening at 154. So goes to show that, you know, he's still young. His body's still growing. But I'm a huge fan of Conor Benn, man. And maybe this was a little bit blessing in disguise that this happened to him. Right, because they got the whole world of boxing talking about him. I think he will become a star no matter what. But he got everybody talking about Conor Benn, and now tomorrow, because he got added to that on very short notice, really to the boxing world, it's kind of like must-watch TV. Hey, who is this guy? If you didn't know who he was, now you're kind of interested because nobody's really tuning in to see Rodolfo Orozco. So they really want to see. It's a blessing in disguise, man. Go get him, Conor Benn. I'm behind you, big dog. I'm a big fan of Conor Benn. Let's get it going, dog.
Todo el mundo está usando drogas, so let's stop losing sleep about it. Everybody's on pads. Everybody on this panel is on pads, including Conor Benn.
And you know, okay,
I'm plead, bro.
and just what Bass said earlier. I mean, he hasn't fought in 18 months. What do you want? Another 18 months, 2 more years, 3 more years? I mean, what? Let's say he comes out and says, you know what? Guilty as charged. Okay, cool. What do you want to do? Suspend him for another year, 2 years, 3 years? I mean, 18 months, man. I don't have an issue with it, man. Let's go. Conor Benn in boxing makes boxing that much more exciting.
Exactly.
Dave, you happy that Conor Benn is coming back on Saturday? Has he done it enough punishment?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you guys are saying he's 18 months time for credit for time served. I'm not happy about the guy coming back to the sport, especially trying to rebrand himself here in the U.S. A cheat is a cheat, you know. Nonito Donaire hasn't been busted for PEDs. Look how many titles and championships he's won. I enjoyed Conor Benn, his run. It was exciting. Who doesn't enjoy a knockout artist? But listen, the drug that he was accused of using in clomiphene citrate is also the same drug that Alberto Puello used to win his 140-pound title and the WBA rightfully stripped him of it. Okay, so he comes over here, he's rebranding himself. Eddie Hearn's gonna rebrand him in Florida, which has one of the most relaxed state athletic commissions. They allow bare knuckle fighting, nobody else allows it. Whatever. If you guys are excited about him coming back, a cheat is a cheat. And clomiphene citrate can boost your testosterone 1.5 to 2 times your natural testosterone levels. If this elite athlete was peaking around 1,000, then he was at like bodybuilder ridiculous. He could have been at 1,500, 2,000 testosterone levels, man. No wonder he knocked out everybody.
Credible Hulk status.
Yeah, look at his body. Look how his body has transformed and changed.
Look like a fucking Avenger, bro.
Chris Algieri is a nutritionist. You know, he's a licensed nutritionist or what? I mean, and he said nobody ever hit him that hard. He's been in there with Pacquiao and been dropped how many times? Nobody ever hit him that hard. So while he's, I'm in a way, sure. Let's see if he's clean, stays clean, continues to test natural. And I'd like to see him, you know, if he's going to box, then compete against the best at 154. I welcome him to the division, and I hope some of these young guns like Jesus Ramos Jr. or somebody at PBC whoops him.
Do you think he should have been out longer? In your opinion, Dave, you think this?
That's subjective. Canelo tested for clenbuterol and has gone on to still be the face of champion. 18 months is a substantial amount of time. It's a substantial amount of time. But again, was it formal?
Yeah, he was cleared by the National Anti-Doping Panel in the UK, and he had a provisional suspension from UCAD, and they lifted it after he was cleared by the National Anti-Doping Panel. So,
no, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on the guy because he's quite marketable. You know, like I said, like you guys all have alluded, when he did his historic little run in the UK against all these former 147 names, it was quite enjoyable, and he's quite marketable, and he speaks beautiful Spanish. I have no doubt that he'll rebrand himself. Just a little angry about it, just a little bitter about it.
Dave, that's all right, man. You got to be able to voice your opinion on him, man. Discourse is always good, man. We don't want an echo chamber here, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just want to say that
this isn't a cult over here.
The conversation all boils down to what you think about boxing. Do you actually believe that there are clean athletes in boxing? And I could say after 30 years of watching the sport, at this age, I think, no, there's no such thing. There is no clean boxing. Mia St. John said it about 5 years ago. I believe her. She said, the whole sport is dirty. I used PEDs and I never got caught. She said that. I used PEDs. I never got caught. The whole sport.
He's probably Manaji said the same thing.
The whole sport is dirty. So at this point, I'm like, if the whole sport is dirty and most, if not all of it, knows it, why should I pretend to care about Conor? Chris was gonna fight him anyway, right? That's what Chris. That's the story. Chris didn't care about it. Why should I?
Okay.
Also, let's not forget, like, I get there's obviously stuff that is a lot more potent than everything else, and you know, you want to not have people on anything whatsoever, but even supplements, just by the very nature, what is it doing? It's an addition to what you're already doing yourself.
Right.
Every supplement you could realistically say is performance enhancing, whether it has illegal substances in it or not. It's a booster to your training regimen. So from you're allowed to take that, there's always different and gray areas about this.
All I want to say is this. So I said this when we were off the air, and I'll say it again. My concern is in competition stuff. Okay, like what Pryor took in the middle of the fight with Arguello, things like that. Okay, they give you a boost in the middle of a fight. EPO in a fight is unacceptable to me. Like I don't want to hear everybody does it. Well, we're going to test for it, and if you're caught with it, you should be punished severely, right? If everybody wants to do it, go ahead. Just don't get caught. Then you know what I mean. That's how I feel about it. Also, I have talked to a lot of fighters behind the scenes that have told me they're clean, and I believe a lot of them. I believe they're like I'm not ready to say every fighter is doing it. I'm not, because the argument to me is more, is it the majority or not? But even if the majority are doing it, it's not fair to the ones that aren't. So they're just, now when it comes to like stimulants out of competition, like what Valdez got caught with, I mean, that's whatever to me, man. I don't even care about that. Like I just don't. If someone is taking something in between fights, and this may not even be a popular opinion, I know the accusation towards Floyd was he would cycle off, okay, and then he would do the testing. I don't care what Floyd was taking 6-7 months before he fought. I just don't. Like, that's just me. I personally don't care if baseball players were taking stuff to help them recover faster, and that's why they were playing better. That's called science to me. If you're able to recover faster after training, that's what that is to me, right? At what point did that become a performance enhancer? Because, like Bay said, that there are things that are legal that help you with those things, right? Joe, we've had a conversation with Victor Conte, right, where Conte admitted that he had substances he gives his athletes that are more effective than the stuff Valdez got caught with. But his only argument was, yeah, but my stuff's illegal. Well, I thought, what is that? That doesn't mean anything to me. It's either you believe in the morality of it or you don't. Okay, I don't want to get into the technicality of it. Do you believe in the morality of it? If there's legal stuff that are more effective than some of the illegal stuff, those illegal things should not be illegal, in my opinion.
Yeah. And last point on this topic, Travis Tigert, who's in charge of USADA, he's complained about this. He's immensely, right? And he said, this list gets bigger and bigger every year. And he says to himself, are they really investigating and doing the research on these substances to really know for sure if they should be on this list or not? So this is kind of getting out of control. You know what I mean? Like you drink a friggin' an energy drink, and lo and behold, there's something in there that's not on the ingredients list, whether it's contaminated or not. Then you get out of competition stimulant. You get
that's what happened with meldonium. That's what happened with meldonium and Povetkin. Meldonium was not on the list the year before, but like Beeb said, they added it to the list. And because they added it to the list, oh shit, well, you have a banned substance. He's like, well, it wasn't illegal when I used it. Like this whole thing. And it's like, yo, dog, at the end of the day, I really do believe, most of the sport are on stuff. But it's the vilifying of people that I don't like, that you're pigeonholing people when the whole sport is bent. So why should we even pigeonhole one person when we know there's a very good possibility that a lot of fighters that we like have used something. But we're going to act like we don't know that because it's not the fighter that I like. Oh, he's bad. He cheated, bro. The whole sport is cheating.
I'll tell you another thing, and this is just me. Fighters that don't even bother making weight and come in heavier than their opponent is a bigger issue to me than someone who took a diuretic to make the weight. Because you're accomplishing the same thing, but for some reason the other one isn't look like you should look at it just as bad, if not worse, right? That's just my personal opinion. Okay, but nobody, to me, Floyd Mayweather taking IV before the Pacquiao fight is a bigger deal to me than anything, most things that help fighters make weight or whatever. That's a bigger deal to me,
100%.
Right? So that's all I gotta say.
And can we just let's admit, 70s, 80s, 90s, there were fighters doing cocaine before fights.
Amphetamines, Mike. Amphetamines, Mike.
Journeyman.
Mike Tyson admitted it.
Maradona was on cocaine. You know that dude was on cocaine.
Burt Cooper, one of my favorite.
Enhancing, okay?
Burt Cooper, Mike Tyson, raging fucking cokeheads, and I'm for it. If anything, you should get the sniff a line right before the fight.
My favorite fighter of all time, Sugar Ray Leonard. My favorite fighter of all time, Sugar Ray Leonard, used cocaine, man.
Sugar Ray,
what do you think Ricardo Mayorga was out there bugging out about? That dude probably was sniffing lines in the bathroom right before the fucking fight. And look, it's your body, bro. Look at that. You the one that want to do it, right? Do your thing, bro. Because I'm gonna watch.
Let's shift.
Hey, man, Conor Benn is back.
Yeah, let's shift.
Yeah, I'm calling you.
This is another topic that we can go all night on, but I heard some promising news, but I don't want to get too excited about this because this man has cried wolf so many times. I've gotten excited before, only to get my heart broken. So I'm hearing, this is being reported, that David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade is reportedly set for November 24th. Mike, does this fight actually happen? Are they stringing us along again? Does this fight actually happen? And how do you think it plays out? What do you got winning?
I think it's a very good chance it happens. It's going to be on pay-per-view. Good luck selling that shit. That's going to be a tough sell, man. But look, PBC has no schedule right now in the second half of the year, going through the fourth quarter. They need these kind of fights. So I do think it'll come forward. It will happen. On paper, you got to favor Benavidez. I just think his activity and everything else is going to win the day. Also, let's be honest, it's probably going to happen in Vegas. He's more marketable. He's Mexican-American. He's going to get a decision if it's close, it goes to the cards because he's part of the establishment here. It's not Andrade. So I would favor him by points, but yeah, it's a good fight on paper. But is this a super fight? Here's the thing. We keep getting told, oh, this is a super fight. That's a super. Benavidez Plant was a super fight. Davis Garcia was a super fight. There has been one super fight this year. One. And it was Spence Crawford. And it ended up being basically an exposed Spence as a guy who's good, but not great. Crawford's a generational talent.
Yes.
And he showed that in that fight. We've had one super fight this year. So all these people, oh my God, this is the best year in boxing in 30 years. Fuck off. If you watch this sport in the 80s and 90s as I did as a kid, or even in the early 2000s, it don't even hold a candle to that shit.
The caliber of fights back then was...
Dude, on HBO Boxing After Dark killed most of these pay-per-views. Can we be honest about that?
We have to be honest about
one
that.
fucking super fight this year, and the undercard was dog shit.
Davis versus Garcia, for example, in their
That
mind,
wasn't a super fight.
To them, I'm like, how is this a super fight? What's super about it?
If you're 19 and you think that's a super fight, fine. When I was 19, I was a fucking idiot. I'm still half an idiot at 44. Okay, you get a pass. But if you're a grown-ass man calling that a super fight,
that's not
you're on the payroll, you're a fucking idiot.
De La Hoya Trinidad, that's a super fight.
Thank you.
That was a Mayweather De La Hoya.
Tyson Holyfield.
Listen, it was a different vibe back then when there was a super fight because you could feel it in the streets. You go to the store, people talking about it in the store. They talking about it in an
Anglo
elevator.
businessmen were talking about that shit.
When you woke up in the morning, you had those goosebumps when you got out of bed. Oh, today's the fight.
Today's the fight, B. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that anymore. Like, oh, when Gervonta was gonna fight Ryan, I didn't give a shit. And with Spence and Crawford, I said it a million times. I'm like, I don't care about the fight. I know who's gonna win the fight. I care about Sunday. That's going to be where I
tell these people. We try to tell these people.
Be where I have my fun.
We try to tell these people
that I don't care about Saturday night. I know who's going to win on Saturday. It's Sunday that I'm waiting for. I'm going to be fucking crazy.
The reaction.
Bro. Yeah, that's what I was in it for.
Davis Garcia was a slightly more proven contender versus a very unproven contender.
But it was a big event, Mike. It was a big event, but it wasn't really a super
commercially it was a big event. Do you know why?
That's what it is.
Because Ryan Garcia's TikTok followers bought the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Tank sold the tickets. Tank sold the tickets at the fight. But the guy who sold the pay-per-view was Ryan.
Look, I'm not trying to be the inclusion guy, but I'm going to be real. The big fight feel is different than the big money fight. When Amanda was going to fight Katie, I got the big fight feel like, yo, I don't know what's about to happen. I need to see this.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that with Ryan and Gervonta. I felt, yo, Gervonta going to knock him out. That's going to be it.
Are you gonna feel that in December ring when Fury fights Usyk?
No, look, being real with you, that's a fight that would give me the big fight feel because they're both good enough that I wonder what's going to happen. The big fight feel is, yo, I don't know what's going to happen. I got my horse in the race, but I don't really know what's going to happen. I need to see it. I don't get that with, like, Benavidez, Andrade.
Canelo Charlo?
No, I like that fight. I actually really like that fight more than some others, but it doesn't have the big fight feel.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
It's
going the distance. It's going. Charlo will go the distance. He'll go the
Ring,
distance.
are you going to buy this pay-per-view?
Oh, what, Benavidez? Andre? Yeah, I'm gonna buy it because I know that I can flip it and make the money back and then some. So I am gonna buy it. But as a customer, I agree with I don't know who said it, but yeah, that's not pay-per-view worthy. Like it's not. We got Navarrete versus Valdez, regular ESPN, bro. That was a good ass fight. Hell, to me, Navarrete versus Wilson was better than Benavidez versus
How
Plant.
about the fight we opened the show with? Zhang versus Joyce.
That's a great
That's a
fight.
better fight than 90% of the pay-per-views we have gotten since 2020.
Yo, mira, Navarrete versus Pitufo Diaz like a year and a half ago. That was a fucking fight.
That was a great fight.
Zepada versus Baranchik. That was a fucking fight.
Thank you.
That was a classic.
And I completely agree with you guys, but will those fights sell the way Davis and Ryan Garcia?
No, you right, bro. You right. El dinero. Pero just the entertainment value, right? Entertainment value versus what it costs. Tú dices, yo, pa que yo voy a pagar 80 pesos por esta vaina when I get better fights than this on ESPN. So that Ryan could, y pa que este fucking tipo could quit. Nah, deja la vaina, man. Deja la vaina, no. So you gonna lay down, bro? Y lo más malo, mira, I'm not mad that Ryan lost. I'm like, I knew you were gonna lose, but you acquitted yourself so poorly in the fight that you look like you didn't belong in there with that guy. And then when you think about the Spence fight, otra vez, they're like, yo, Spence is supposed to be, you know, like you supposed to be Felix and he supposed to be Oscar. Y'all supposed to be that for this generation. He supposed to be, you know, like the Floyd and you know, he's supposed to be like the Pacquiao. It's supposed to be that dichotomy that you two are intended to be the best welterweights of this era. And this guy, he doesn't look like he belong in there with Crawford, which I knew already. But it's like, yo, dog, like I get better fights in this low key. Shout out to Bob Arum, because the Bob will provide, bro.
I've been saying that about Bob. People want to shit on Bob. He's still the man, bro. Base. I remember we talked about David Benavidez versus Morrell, and you liked Morrell. What about this one? Andrade versus David Benavidez. Does he have a shot?
I've got Benavidez in this one.
This one's different.
Stylistically, it's the problem with this is Andrade has no stamina management after sort of the first 5 rounds. And if one thing we know about David Benavidez is like his stamina will last the entire fight. Unless Andrade gets 3 or 4 quick knockdowns in the first couple of rounds, which to be fair, he can do because he's done it before. And, you know, Benavidez has been knocked down by lesser people than Andrade. Then, yeah, it's just going to be one of those ones that he's going to be sort of just losing those back rounds. So it's a good fight. Like, and, you know, I'm glad that Andrade finally gets the quote unquote big fight he's been looking for. Just unfortunately, it's going to be one that he loses due to inactivity and, yeah, probably just, you know, fighting someone that's, remember, let's not forget, like, Benavidez, when he was younger, was weighing nearly 300 pounds. Like, so he just is naturally bigger guy with this better engine. The punches may not be correct, but there's enough of them that he's going to keep you holstered for the majority of the time. So, yeah, I've got Benavidez in it, but I will definitely be watching. Luckily, it won't be pay-per-view over here unless they put it on Fight. But yeah, I'll pay for it if I gotta pay like a $12.99 or something. Anything more than that, no chance.
Mike, before you go, did you want to finish up with that topic? I don't know if you finished your point.
With this fight, I don't know. Demetrius Andrade is finally going to get his big payday, right? It's going pay-per-view, so he'll get his big payday. That's what he's been holding out for. It's what he's ducked Janibek for, and made several horrible business decisions for. Good for him. I like Benavidez to win the fight. Hopefully, we get Benavidez and Canelo. I don't know if it'll happen. Hopefully, we get that next year. And with Andrade, I don't know where he goes from here, because once he loses to Benavidez, and I think it'll be fairly decisive, he doesn't have a bargaining chip. He's really, you know, he had the opportunity. I think it was what Zach Parker he could have fought, right, for a title, and I think that was a winnable fight for him. He's just negotiated himself out of really relevancy. So by this time next year, we won't even know what the hell Demetrius Andrade is doing. And I think, well, it would be a good case study for modern fighters. Look at what Demetrius Andrade did. This is what not to do.
Exactly.
And then you look at what Gennady Golovkin did during like 2012 to 2015. This is what you should do. Oscar De La Hoya had a great tweet this week. If you're a champion, you need to fight 2, 3, 4 times a year. This is your time to make your money. Get in there and do one big money fight a year and 2 or 3 small money fights just to stay active. This is what you should be doing at this point in your career, because this title might go away. You might get stripped. You might get beat, whatever it is. This is the time to make your money and make your mark. It's the best tweet Oscar ever had, because Oscar tweets a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah, he does.
But,
he says some shit, like, because it speaks to the situation of the division of boxing now due to the networks that, you know what, if you could get a fight over there with those guys, you know, you get one fight over there, then 2 fights over here, maybe you want to do that, you know, to stay active.
It's like the divorced child syndrome, right? Divorced parents. They play the dad versus the mom versus the dad versus the mom, right? And that's what you get in boxing, dude. These fighters, oh, let me go to the zone. Look what Canelo's doing. And I don't blame him. He made his money with Eddie and the zone. Now he's like, shit, let me go make this money off of Uncle Al for these 3 fights. Listen, if Charlo and Canelo is close and it goes to distance, who do you think's getting the decision?
Shit. Now, I will say
2 more fights with Canelo.
Now, I do think Charlo's going to get knocked out. I do want to say that.
It probably will get knocked out in the late rounds, but if it goes the distance and Charlo wins 7, 8, 9 rounds, he's still going to lose a decision.
Oh yeah, he's going to lose, bro. We can't sell Charlo pay-per-views,
boxing.
bro.
It's so predictable.
Yeah.
And like I fought more than anybody for the sanctity of the sport, this, that, and now I've kind of like unplugged and I just realized what it is. Just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's WWE. Slightly more real. So,
yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what it is.
I mean, fucking Rolly Romero has a title. Doesn't that say it all?
If Rolly Romero, maybe I need to fucking fight for a title.
Rolly got a big break today, too. He got a big break.
Yeah, he got a huge break, bro.
Yeah.
Huge.
All right. Cholo, what do you like in this one? And you actually think it's going to happen?
Peace,
all right, Mike. Be good,
Have
man.
a great night, guys.
Thank
awesome
you, man.
Fucking panel. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll do it again soon.
All right, Mike.
Well, as Mike was saying, you know, we don't know what's going to happen with Demetrius Andrade after this fight. I don't think we ever know what's happening with Demetrius Andrade in his career at all, man. He didn't look good against Damon Nicholson. And when people are saying like, hey, he's getting his big payday, that's a big payday to him. I'm not really sure how much he's really going to be racking in if this fight does take place, but don't mistake it to he's getting some sort of huge payday. No, it's just going to be a big payday for him. This is Benavidez' fight to win. And by the way, I wouldn't be too sure if this fight even happens. I hope it does happen. I hope it really does happen. But the pressure that's being put on Canelo for Canelo to fight Benavidez in the first quarter of next year, I could see if Benavidez' team says, like, hey, you know what? Let's see what we could do to skip this fight. And we'll just fight in the, beginning of next year, man. We'll just fight Canelo in the beginning of next year, because should something go wrong, that fight is off the table for us. So, but if this fight does take place, which I hope it does take place, it's definitely Benavidez winning this fight for me. Demetrius Andrade fought in the beginning of the year in January, I believe. And my goodness, man, he looked very, very, very average, very mediocre. There's nothing ever that I've seen on Bubu Andrade, man. And he was in the Olympics back in 2008. There's nothing special that I've ever seen. There's nothing special that I could point out from him. Footwork, power, jab, power, punch. There's nothing cutting off the ring IQ. There's nothing special about him. He's pretty average in certain departments. And I would say, he's a pretty good boxer. He's very boring to watch. It's very tough to sell with him. I'm not a fan of his fights. I do watch him fight though, but yeah, man, Benavidez got to get this victory, definitely. But like I said, If the rumors are true, man, that they're really gonna be pushing Canelo to fight Benavidez in the beginning of next year, I can somewhat see the Benavidez team trying to skip this fight.
Okay. D-Style, we talked about Andrade not looking great lately, but does he have one good one left in him with the motivation of knowing that if he does win this fight, that Canelo could be at the end of the rainbow? What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing is that, look, steel sharpens steel, right? Iron sharpens iron. This guy has not been fighting steel nor iron, so I don't know how sharp he is. He's been notoriously 1,300-1 favorite, like 2,000-1, 1,500-1 favored over opponent after opponent. That's the level of opposition he's been fighting, and he has had. Everyone always feels sorry for Andrade, but you could go down the line. He was supposed to fight Jermell Charlo at one point, and he pulled out of that fight. In fact, you did that interview, Beeb, and he bragged about how that was a smart move because look how big of a name he is now. And look at me. It's a bigger fight today than it would have been then. Okay, but that's why you never get the fights. Like he pulled out of a fight that he allowed Ryder to get in, right? And who ended up getting the fight with Canelo? Ryder as a mandatory. He could have been that guy, but he pulled himself. So spare me this whole Andrade, he's the victim. Nobody wants to fight him. He's the boogeyman. Like boogeyman of what? He's our boogeyman. We don't like to watch. Like he scares me just watching. That I'm going to get bored. Okay, that's all it is. I'm just not that impressed with the guy. I look at the guy. He's a solid fighter, but what's his best win? Avanesian? No, not Avanesian. Who was that other dude? Matarosian.
Armenian guy. Yeah, the Armenian guy.
Like that's his best win. That's it. Look, Benavidez can eat this dude alive, bro. He's gonna fuck this dude up. He might not knock him out, but I think he's gonna fuck this dude up. That's what's gonna happen. This fight should not be pay-per-view, but I'm gonna spare everybody the speech why it shouldn't be pay-per-view. It's on pay-per-view because both guys are asking for way too much money for this fight. So they're going to need to do a pay-per-view to offset. Okay, we, the fan, the hardcore boxing fan that you say is so terrible, Beeb, needs to subsidize these guys' purses. Okay? Well, we subsidize their fucking purses for fights that should not be on pay-per-view. But boxing fans get called the worst fan base on the planet? Are you kidding me?
Trash fans.
Okay, if anything, we're the best fans because we're the only ones left. Okay, we're the only ones left in this Titanic, right? And we're getting lectured how horrible we are. Okay, but here I am. I'm trying to play the violin for the sport. Okay, but I'm getting scolded about how I can't play the violin right. That's what's going on right now with the sport of boxing. Okay, I got Benavidez winning that fight. It shouldn't be on pay-per-view, but I understand why it's on pay-per-view, and I hate it, but it is what it is.
Don't let Andrade be that one bad apple to spoil the bunch.
Look, I know everybody's. I don't want this fight to be on pay-per-view either. But there's been much worse pay-per-view fights than this.
Yeah.
Thurman versus Mario Barrios.
I agree, Cholo, but that's like saying, hey, like eat that pile of shit. I mean, look, it could have been diarrhea. You know what I mean? Like that's you know what I mean? I get it. I get it. I get this service diarrhea before.
You don't need these analogies, man. You don't need these analogies.
But now, okay, just because the shit's dry this time doesn't mean it ain't shit, okay? We had Samsung out here doing interviews, okay, talking about how Benavidez has taken over Vegas. He's the new face of boxing.
No, y él dijo, hace como 5 meses, he literally said, no, we no fight Andrade. He will not sell one ticket. He will. Now you're selling me this fight. That's how fucking backwards boxing is.
Why? Because we marinated the fight.
Right? Marinated it by 5 months.
But here's the PBC thing. Now. You know, a lot of these whack ass pay-per-views have been PBC.
But here's the thing. At the end of the day, you put these fight on pay-per-view at your own peril because people aren't going to buy them.
Yeah.
So
Well, the problem is that less people see them. I believe that Benavidez versus Andrade on regular Showtime as part of the regular schedule would probably do in excess of 1 million views. But like D Styles pointed out,
they're only shooting themselves in the foot. They're not hurting anyone but themselves. It's
they
the
want
networks
this
that are
big
doing it.
money, and the network's not going to give them that money because they know they're not worth that. So it's like, well, if you want big money, we'll put you on pay-per-view, and hopefully the money will come from the fans because we're not going to give you no crazy ass purses just because y'all think y'all worth that.
But this is where the big fights get forced because now Benavidez and Canelo, if Benavidez wants to make big money that he really wants, he's gonna have to fight Canelo. So once again, the market will dictate Benavidez having to be in a bigger fight in order to.
Let's my man Crawford crash the party because I rather see Crawford versus Canelo. De verdad, that's a fight between great fighters.
But remember, Samson said that he's taking over Vegas. He's a new name. Canelo's fighting in Mexico because they don't want him in Vegas no more.
But
let me just say this. So, okay, I guess he's a star now, right? Okay, let's see how he does with Andrade. Let's see what he sells. Like Canelo would do at least 600,000 with Andrade for like that's bottom end. Right. Okay, but like let's see if this guy could do. Let's just move the decimal point one spot. Like, let's see if we can do 60,000. All right. Let's see the new face in town. The guy who's running Vegas now, the new sheriff in town, David Benavidez. according to Samson, okay, the new star is going to be able to sell some. Look, at the end of the day, I think Showtime. This is what I would recommend to them: take the hit. Okay, they want the money they want. Try to lower it a little bit, but. Take the hit, put it on regular Showtime, all right? So more people could watch it because if more people watch Benavidez beat the shit out of Andrade, okay, then that's more viewers and then there's more demand for a Canelo fight. Yeah. So you make the money back in the back end, right?
There you go.
So you need to have long-term thinking here, but they're not going to do that.
Lomachenko, Lomachenko on ESPN with Teofimo Lopez. How many people watch that on ESPN for free?
Yeah, that's true. Is Benavidez taking over Vegas, Dave?
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you guys, man. I was there leading up to that fight, media days, and it was a very serious turnout by a lot of people, casual fans. David Benavidez is kind of capturing the attention of local Las Vegans. A lot of people came to see that fight. The gate sold really well, but Mbugu Andrade, while I like the fight and it's very intriguing, and I'd actually like to see it in person as a local now, I think the date might be a little tricky to have some success at the gate, guys. We're talking about F1 Formula Race week ending at the same time that boxing media would typically descend for a super fight like that. Prices are going to be astronomical. Not only that, but you've already got the formal announcement of Navarrete being the co-main event to Shakur Stevenson the Saturday before.
That's anytime, hard.
Right. Anytime you get super fights like this very close together, people have to pick and choose. Okay, Thanksgiving's coming up. Do I fly out to Vegas on Thanksgiving week when I should be with my family? Do I fly out to Vegas for Shakur or do I fly out for David Benavidez? I think that date might get pushed back into early December if they were smart. Now, as far as it being pay-per-view worthy, it's like you guys said, it's really not pay-per-view worthy because Andre is a poor salesman, and he's blundered his career, and now he's fighting the toughest fight of his life at the tail end of his career. But I still think Andrade has enough in him to potentially play spoiler, and not necessarily will he win the fight on points because that's nearly impossible. This WBC showdown between Canelo and David Benavidez for Cinco de Mayo, it's short of inevitable. But how many slick southpaws have upset or played spoiler or given fits to power punchers like Canelo when he fought Arizlan Lara, or even when you guys started off the show today, like Joyce, not expecting what was coming his way with Big Bang Zhang. So I don't know. I like to see this fight because I want to see David Benavidez complete himself as a young former champion, just kind of become the total package, a guy that can take on all styles. Inevitably, at some point, Canelo will no longer be the face of boxing. Could it be David Benavidez? Well, to be the face of boxing, you got to be able to beat all styles. And I haven't seen him fight somebody like Hugo Andrade. So this is going to be an intriguing fight, but one that falls short of being pay-per-view worthy.
Are you going to it, Dave?
I'm going to do my best to go. If it's local, I'm going to do my best because, to be honest, I was very impressed with David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. But Caleb Plant brought a lot to the table. Caleb Plant can sell a fight, and he's got name recognition now. He fought Canelo, right? It was the first time Canelo came over to PBC. That did fairly well. He's got that name recognition. He lives in Las Vegas. This one is going to be much tougher to sell in person at the gate and on pay-per-view.
Gotcha. All right. I think did everyone go on that one? I think everyone
Yes.
went around.
I didn't get to
right.
go on that one. That fight cost me almost as much as I spent 3 times a month on Instacart at Aldi. So should I get David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade or some grapes and blueberries and some mango slices from Aldi? You know what I mean? It's that kind of deal that, yeah, for me, which is an unusual situation, I can flip the fight. Same way I could flip a brick, I could flip that fight. I'll get it back and then some. But for the average customer and the average consumer, there is a real question there about value for money, because if you're getting, let's say, Shakur Stevenson versus De Los Santos, and on that same card, you're also getting Navarrete, right, who's made for TV, you got to look at that like, damn, I'm getting all that on regular ESPN, but y'all want 80 or whatever it is for this? It's a tough sell. It's a very tough sell. So, you know, I'm going to buy it, though. I'm going to buy it, but are other people going to?
Yeah, they better put a good undercard to that.
You buying it, Disto?
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Sure. I've been grumpy lately. I don't know if you're going to buy it, man.
100%.
All right. All right, so we got a good card on the zone this weekend. And I like the main event here. I like Jose Zepeda versus Richardson Hitchins. I think it's a great fight. I consider it a crossroads fight. Big question is Hitchens ready? Zepeda, we know he's been there before. It's come up short a couple times. Is this his last chance to show that he really belongs if he can't get past a guy like Hitchens? This is like a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. Cholo, what do you think of this fight? Who you got?
Oh man, I got. I think it is a really good fight. At 34 years old, you know, Zepeda, I mean, he put up a good fight against Prograis. I really like that one. I think he's getting a little long in the tooth, man. I know there's some elite 34-year-olds, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's one of them. I think he's a tough cookie, and I think he's going to put up a really good fight here. But Richard Hitchens, he's a strong kid, 25 years old, coming up, you know, former Olympian, undefeated. I mean, the kid's shining. The kid's shining, and he knows he is. I don't think he's gonna be overconfident. I like what I see from this kid, and I think he's gonna outwork the 34-year-old man. I really look forward to this fight. I mean, this DAZN card, in my opinion, man, is just badass all the way from top to bottom.
Okay. D-Style, can Hitchens keep Zepeda off him? Does he have the power? Can he deal with that pressure? What are your thoughts on this fight?
Well, that wouldn't be the game plan. Can he keep him off of him, like just by punches straight through him? No, right? Like that's not. Hitchens going to be on the move here. He's going to have to be the outboxer in this fight. He's going to have to be the matador, and Zepeda's going to have to be the bull here, right? He's coming in against a prospect of Matchroom that they have invested a lot on. I mean, they're even putting Conor Benn as his co-main. This is an investment for them. So don't. Earlier, guys were talking about if the Jermell fight is close, is Canelo going to get the decision? Well, that's how I feel about this one. If it's close, Hitchens getting the decision more likely. He's a quote-unquote house fighter here. Zepeda has the experience. Zepeda's been there with some really good opponents. Yes, he got stopped by Prograis, but you could argue it's a very bad style for him. Prograis could punch hard, work the body very well, but he put up a decent fight. But one must wonder, like, well, what's left? I think he's been in wars like the Baranchik fight and the Ramirez fight. So he's a battle-tested warrior here, but I don't think he's like shot. So I think he could box well enough to get in the pocket, right, and land something big. He has more of a margin of error to work with than Hitchens. And the margin of error in boxing matters a lot to me. Meaning, Hitchens, I don't think it hurts Zepeda. Hitchens, if you look at his resume, most of his knockouts came very early in his career against very overmatched opponents. He's never gone 12, but he's been going, he had one stoppage. I think it was like an 8th round that the guy retired in the stool. But for the most part, it's not a guy who's going to hurt Zepeda. I think Zepeda's going to walk through his punches. The question is, can Hitchens stay on his bicycle and not get exhausted and tired for 12 rounds against a Zepeda that's going to be stalking him? I think Zepeda is decent at cutting off the ring. His experience will show. I think there'll be some scary moments for Hitchens in his fight. And I think Hitchens wins a controversial decision. I think Zepeda's going to land a straight left on him. I think it's going to hurt him, might even drop him. Don't be shocked if Zepeda wins, but I want to pick up Sid, but I'm going to chicken out. I'm going to go with Hitchens in a controversial decision. That's why I see it.
Dave, is Hitchens ready for Zepeda? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, unfortunately for me, and shout out to Chon Zepeda, who's had a very nice career from the LBC, man. He's had a good one, but he's got high miles. And I think we saw him enter gatekeeper status against the Prograis fight. That was the beginning of the gatekeeper status. He's got really high miles on his body. He's been through some brutal wars. If he had a rematch with Parenchek or Trilogy, that could have easily been like War Gotti. That was insane, the damage they inflicted on each other. And then again, Dista also mentioned the Ramirez fight. Hitchens is a guy that, Floyd Mayweather from the get really, really wanted to sign. And Floyd, he's got that eye, man. He's never wrong about these kids coming up through the system. He's just not. He's not. And I think this fight's going to remind me a lot of Oshaki Foster versus Ray Vargas is how it's going to play out. Now, Hitchens doesn't necessarily have all the star qualities to be a huge star, but I think he's going to find it rather easy. But again, you guys are absolutely right about Zepeda. If he's entering gatekeeper status, he's very dangerous, and he still has heavy hands, and he can hurt Hitchens. So it's up to Hitchens what kind of fight he wants to play out this weekend. But if he plays it safe and plays it smart and is focused, it's going to play out like the Oshaki Foster fight versus Ray Vargas.
Yeah, and you know what? He has bounced back from his loss to Prograis, so he is in the winner's bracket.
Yeah. Ring, this is a coin flip, man. I mean, did Matchroom make the right move here and invested in Hitchens, the up-and-coming guy? Seems like
think they did it. The speed is going to be the difference. The speed and combinations, because I wonder about Zepada's punch resistance at this point. He was durable in the past, definitely, but the Baranchik fight took something out of him. I think the Prograis fight took something out of him. And it's not that Hitchens has speed, but if he puts 2, 3, and 4 punches together and stuns him, he's quick, he's fast, he could piece him up. I think he wins on points. Like D-Styles, I think there's going to be a scary moment because Zepada, he can crack, man. You see what he did to Vargas. He can crack. But I got Hitchens on points.
Yeah. What do you think, Base? Any upsets here?
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of agree. I think stylistically, like Hitchens is a big advantage, because Zepeda isn't a pressure fighter. Hitchens is definitely a pure boxer. He's not going to take unnecessary chances. We've seen it in some fights he's had recently. He will control it behind the lead hand and then just employ that backhand when it's perfect timing, and any other time he won't take the chance. So I don't even think he'll actually get caught in a scary moment. I just don't think he'll allow Zepeda enough opportunities to catch him with something, if I'm totally honest. So I do think it will be a quite comfortable points win, or I mean, if it's a 12 rounder, maybe a very late stoppage, because he's got a bit of snap, and obviously the shots that don't hurt are the ones you don't see, the ones with the speed behind them. So if he catches Zepeda the wrong angle, Zepeda will go down and he will hit the canvas. Whether he stays there or not is a different story, because he does normally have good powers of recovery, but he will touch the canvas. So yeah, but it's a good fight. I'm looking forward to the card.
Yeah, I find it very intriguing. I think it's a tough fight. I think I'll edge Hitchens in this one. I think the youth, the speed, and just the overall boxing ability. I think he'll, for the most part, be able to use the distance and range in this fight.
I don't think he stops him though. I do got
Yeah, I
him
don't think
winning,
so.
but I don't think he stops.
Yeah,
him.
I don't think it's a stoppage either. I agree. I don't think it's a stoppage. He's not.
If there is a stoppage, like if he'll get like a funny looking stoppage, like a Steve Gray kind of stop of accumulation. Like I'm with you. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't hit. He doesn't hit like that. But if he put 3-4 punches together without an answer, then you could see like why they might wave it off.
Yeah. I hate those Steve Gray stoppages. Those
Tony Wheat and Barrosos, huh?
Bro, that dude didn't even. I thought I was in space. The dude didn't even land. He waved it off. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
20 weeks better not be the ref.
Fuck, word.
Yeah. So Oscar De La Hoya is out there talking again, trying to get people's hopes up high. And me being a negative Nelly, I'm always skeptical when I hear Oscar talk. And he's saying that Ryan Garcia could potentially be facing, or at least he wants him to face, Teofimo Lopez February 10th after he has that comeback fight in November. I know Bob's mentioned that being a potential fight, but again, can these two sides come together, make this fight? And do you think this is the best fight at junior welterweight? Base, what are your thoughts?
It's not the best fight because Ryan isn't the best. So these.
Well, I should say biggest. I meant to say I should say biggest.
The most marketable, probably. I could give you that. Is definitely the most marketable. Ryan does have a huge following, and Teofimo doesn't necessarily have the biggest following, but enough people know him to make.
He can talk.
Yeah, imagine he'd be the lineal champ, but he'll be the strong B side in that fight.
Right. Yeah,
that's crazy. But yeah, if that happens, I mean, I'll definitely watch it. But Ryan's already shown me that he's still skipping too many levels to know exactly where he is at this point in time. And yeah, Teo can blow hot and cold, but when he's on form, he's almost unplayable. If you want to use it in like maybe a basketball analogy or something. Like, yeah, it would be intriguing. The question is obviously I mean, we know Teo's not technically retired anymore, but what's happening with the sort of the child court cases and stuff? Because he's not going to be doing anything until all of that sorted. So if that ain't sorted by then that fight ain't happening anytime in that period. But if the fight comes on, I definitely will watch it, and I'd even pay for it if I had to. It'd be interesting. It'd be intriguing.
So like Bay said, Ring, Teo does run hot and cold, and this may not be that opponent that he can mentally get up for, right? After seeing Ryan in his last fight, and depending on how he looks in November, what are your thoughts on this matchup if it happens?
Lopez has more similarities to Gervonta than people realize. They both use a shell guard. They both work off the counter. One of the glaring differences is that Gervonta is a southpaw and Teofimo is orthodox, but they have a lot in common. Teofimo's more herky-jerky. I would easily favor Teofimo to win that fight. However, I don't think it happens on that timeline. What I think is going to happen probably in February is Ryan versus the winner of O'Hara Davies versus Ismael Barroso. And then Golden Boy will push to bring Rolly to their side to perhaps do a pay-per-view, because Rolly is ass. Rolly sucks. And that's an easy title to get to Ryan so that he could then bring it to that Lopez fight later on next year, because Oscar and Bob, they don't have a bad relationship. So if the question is, can they actually do a fight between each other? I believe they can. They have a good relationship with each other these days. But I don't think Lopez is next or after next. If he's going to fight Lopez, I feel like that'll be towards the tail end of next year after they see what they could do with Rolly, because Rolly's still on the hook. Even though they let him hold on to the belt, he still has to face the winner of O'Hara Davies versus Barroso. I think O'Hara can make it past Barroso. O'Hara's not, a world beater, but I think he can beat like a 46, 50-year-old guy. So I think he can do that.
So you think they're going to try and get a belt for Ryan first before they would.
Yeah, that's why they signed O'Hara, bro. Like,
I got you.
You know, he's mandatory. Like, it's very easy to see what the play is there, and then, you know, maybe it'll be O'Hara Davies versus Ryan in February for mandatory status. Then if Ryan could get that off of O'Hara, then okay, let's push for the purse bid and let's bring Rolly to our side, because the PBC is not going to break the bank for Rolly Romero.
Gotcha. Cholo, you agree with that? You think Teo's not even in the picture and Oscar's just kind of like selling us wolf tickets again?
Oscar's doing what Oscar does, man. He's just out there just running his mouth, trying to get everybody to talk. So when he says this, does it make sense in the sense of this fight sells? Absolutely. I think at 140 pounds, I think this fight is probably the biggest, not the best, but the biggest money-making fight at the moment. Ryan Garcia, look, who do I favor in this fight? Definitely Teofimo Lopez, man. Definitely Teo. And I'm good friends with Bobby Garcia, Ryan's brother, but Teo, I think, would destroy him. But obviously, we got to see what the difference is with Ryan Garcia now that he's over there with Derek James. So if he's really coming back in, what was it, November, we got to see, you know, it takes more than one training camp to really start changing your styles up and things of that nature. Do I think this fight happens early next year? No, I agree with Ring. I think what Oscar needs, Oscar needs to do a couple of things, man, and that's but what he needs to do with Ryan, he needs to get a strap on Ryan, and if Rolly has a strap, get that strap over to Ryan at the moment, man. You do not want to you really want to make this fight meaningful, and it can happen. He can work over there with Bob Arum eventually, but I think the first move definitely is to get a strap on Ryan, make Ryan champion, and he can, you know, going through the right tunnels, he can definitely make that happen.
Yeah. Do you think Teo's in the near future, or you think he's going to be later down the road for a guy like Ryan?
I actually think the fight's possible. It's not that far out there to me. The question is this, though: who's going to host the pay-per-view? Like, who's going to host this fight? Because I don't know if the zone's going to just once again let Ryan go somewhere else to go fight, and go over there to fight on ESPN Plus. It's all good. I just don't think that's going to happen. And then at the same time, I don't know if Bob Arum is just willing to just be like, Teo, go over there. Like,
no, they'll use the Wilder versus Fury model.
Maybe. I mean, maybe ESPN Plus and the Zone will work together. It's possible, right? Why not? They're both digital platforms. That could definitely happen, 100%. It's just something to ponder on. Look, Teofimo Lopez is a superior fighter to Ryan Garcia. He would fuck up Ryan Garcia. Okay, I'm sorry. I hate to put it so bluntly, but we are boxing fans. We're not. It is what it is. Okay.
Teo does have his bad moments, though. He does have his bad moments.
Yeah, he has. He does.
He has his Teo's bad moments because Teo, and I saw what the guy in the comments said. That guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Teo shifts his weight onto his back foot, gets the counter off, then he comes forward. He's not a front foot. No, he don't do that. Whenever he comes forward, that's when he looks bad. George made him come forward. Sandor Martin made him come forward. If he's
a counter puncher,
he's a counter puncher. He shifts his weight to his back foot. Counter puncher.
100%. And here's the thing. I just like, and Bay said it. It's not the best fight, and it should like. I am not going to push for fights that I don't want to see. Maybe that's selfish, right? I want to see Teo fight fucking Tank, the guy that beat Ryan.
Yes.
Like, and now people are, but why? Well, but that's what I'm going to say, though. I'm not going to push for Ryan Garcia. I don't give a shit about a Teofimo Lopez versus Ryan Garcia fight. I want to see Ryan get some wins so I could be intrigued as I like to watch fights where the fight's intriguing. And I'm wondering who's going to win. And like, that's what I want to see as a fight fan. Now, if somebody wants to say, but it's going to sell a lot of pay-per-view. What the fuck does that do for me? It doesn't do shit for me. It doesn't do anything for me. No. Nothing. Just like when people were pushing for Ryan versus Raleigh. Like, you're supposed to be fight fans, and you're pushing for Ryan coming off a loss to fight a dude that was getting beat up by an old man and he got a fucking shady stoppage for 20 weeks, and that's what that was being pushed. Why? Because it's business and it's gonna sell, and let managers and promoters and the stockbrokers worry about that. You as a fan should be pushing for fights that fucking matter. Okay, I want to see him fight Devin Haney. I think that's a better fight. Okay, Teofimo versus Devin Haney is a better fight. It's the fight. Or if Progress beats Haney, Progress versus Teofimo. There's just better fights out there. I wouldn't mind the fight. It's not. I'm not going to complain if it happens. Right? It's just not the fight I'm pushing for, and that's all I got to say.
D, well, I got a question for D. D, what do you think is the best fight to make at 140 in terms of entertainment value?
Entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think it's Progress against Teofimo.
I thought you was going to say Matias. I thought you was, to me,
that's
the best.
Matias Progress, right? And then Matias versus Teofimo. For sure, entertainment-wise, yes. Because, look, Devin Haney, very skilled fighter, and what I'm going to say is very subjective. It's only my opinion, okay? To me, watching Devin Haney fight, it's like watching paint dry, okay? Like, you don't invite people over to watch a Devin Haney fight. They're going to be talking about what they're going to be about Sunday's game, okay, by the fourth round. Okay, that's what it is, bro. I've been to fight parties, okay, for Mayweather fights, or dudes are talking about how do you think the Cowboys are going to look tomorrow, and they're talking about some other shit because they've lost focus on the fight, right? Yeah. That's just, to me, and again, it's my opinion, but that's that.
That's fair. That's fair. Dave, I mean, when we look at Ryan's last fight, and it's easy to ask yourself, like, is he even going to be ready for a guy like Teo? Like, they got to really build him. Like, I think they're going to need more than one comeback fight in November to get him ready for a guy like Teo. What do you think, man?
Yes, it's interesting that he sat with him on Mexican Independence Day and flew out to California to sit underneath that big tent. But also, Raleigh Romero sat with Oscar recently. So, he's kind of putting these fights together, trying to lay the landscape down for those future fights. The much easier route is, like you guys pointed out, is for him to take on Raleigh Romero next year sometime. And he was granted that extension by the WBA, so he's still the champ. He's got to fight one of those two guys, but that's possibly a winnable fight for Raleigh Romero. The much tougher fight is against the made-for-TV star, Teofimo Lopez. He's a made-for-TV fighter. He's excelled. Over 1 million people watch him at a time on ESPN. He's just done incredible things. But where does Ryan get off? He wasn't even ranked. To me, there's no way you could argue he was a top 135-pound lightweight fighter, just like Raleigh Romero, who should have never been afforded an opportunity to fight for a title at 40. How are these guys in the same conversation as Teofimo Lopez, who basically cleaned out 135, or Regis Prograis, who could arguably be one of the best fighters at 140 pounds? How are they all? You could put together Haney, Teofimo in the same conversation. Those guys are elite. You can add Prograis to that. But is Ryan going to really just ride his good looks continuously? I mean, I can see why Teofimo wants to fight Ryan. He's gonna knock that fool out, undoubtedly. And it's easy money. And he gets to cross over from being a made-for-TV fighter to a pay-per-view fighter. So for Teofimo, I can see that. I can see why he wants to fight him. He gets his ass beat by Teofimo, and he stands a decent chance to put up a good fight against Raleigh Romero.
Gotcha.
I think Ryan beats the dog doo-doos out of Rolly, man.
I think he beats Rolly too.
Yeah, they've got experience.
He knocked him out cold, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I think the moment, if you look at
that's
how
a
Ryan,
low bar, guys. Come on, that's a pretty low bar. But
I know, but there's money in it though. Like if you did Ryan versus Rolly on pay-per-view, right? Just why would anybody want to make that fight? Well, because they'd make money with that fight.
Yeah, belt or no belt ring. That's not a bad fight to make. Belt or no belt.
I wouldn't give a fuck. Like me personally, I don't give a fuck about the fight because Rolly is ass. But being real, if there's a conservative effort to make the fight, it's because it would make money though. Like you would sell pay-per-views with that. You would. So it's not that I care, but
and it could be entertaining. It could be entertaining while it lasts too.
Yeah,
so
like Damn.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up with the last topic of the night, and this is also going to be on that Eddie Hearn card with Zepeda and Hitchens. Got Sandy Ryan taking on Jessica McCaskill, and Jessica McCaskill is getting up there in age, and she's coming off that loss to Chantel Cameron, and she's looking to get back into the win column. But Sandy Ryan is going to be a tough opponent for her. But also Sandy Ryan doesn't have a ton of experience. Ring, I know we talked about this earlier, but kind of elaborate on how you think this is going to go.
Well, being honest, I'm a very big I'm friends with Rick. Rick is a good guy. I've been corresponding with Rick for many years, and Jessica. But if I gotta be a realist, the style favors Sandy. It does. Like she can box and punch. She's got the height. She's got the length. She's got the youth. And if nothing else, one thing that is alarming is that they had that whole thing on the Boxing Voice where Jessica implied that Matchroom may have sabotaged Alicia. You said that ahead of this fight. So I don't imagine that the people at Matchroom would do you any favors in the event of a close fight. So, you kind of do have to lean towards Sandy, not just because of the inside the ring, but the outside the ring. Like I don't know why you would go on air and say that. That was so I mean, how it's gonna look, it's gonna look like the Cameron fight, except Sandy's not as developed as Chantel. But it'll look like that. In and out, poop, 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 in and out, back and forth.
Yeah. Do you agree, D-Stall? You see this is kind of like a changing of the guard type fight where the older fighter passes it to the younger fighter?
Look, I think Sandy Ryan will win. However, I seen Sandy Ryan she likes to fight. Like it might. There's going to be some. I think anyway. There's going to be some rounds where there's going to be some brawling going on. I believe because I seen her. Now, granted, that was against lesser opposition, so maybe she's not going to do that with McCaskill. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I think it's going to be a little closer than people think. But I think the decision is going to go to the younger fighter. One comment I want to make. No, I might be accused of being a sexist for saying this. It is what it is.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm going to do it. Okay?
Please.
Now, shout out to all the women and everybody covering women's boxing. And women's boxing has come a long way. Great. That's awesome. No doubt about it. Okay? But stop asking questions like, why is this below the Conor Benn fight? Because the answer is very simple. Conor Benn is a bigger ticket seller. Okay. If Katie Taylor was on his card, Conor Benn would be under Katie Taylor. Okay. So it's not a sex thing. Okay. He's just a bigger draw. Okay. It's going to bring, and him being on this card, it's going to bring more eyeballs to that women's fight. More people are going to watch it because Conor Benn's on the card. Okay. That's why. And if you want the answer, that's the answer. People don't like it.
Fight.
But yeah, I just think, you could say it's unfair. You could say whatever you want. It is what it is. Conor Benn's a bigger name. That's why. And more people are going to watch this fight, the women's fight, because Conor Benn's on the card. It's the way it is. So like fair, and people can say whatever they want. That is your answer. You've been searching for the answer. Like, why? How could this be? Why are they doing this? That's your answer. All right. That's what I got.
And objectively speaking, I will agree with you on that one. Base, Sandy Ryan, Jessica McCaskill. How does this play out?
Yeah, I think after the Erica Farias, especially the rematch, Sandy realized that it's not everyone you can brawl with. And I think she also realized in especially from the first fight to the second one, why am I giving someone an opportunity to beat me when I can do things that they can't? I can use advantages I have that they don't have. And I think the Erica Farias loss was probably the best thing that happened to her. Like, she changed her life, it changed her diet, changed her training. She went from looking like doughy to actually looking ripped as an athlete. And she's boxing controlled as well. Yeah, sometimes she still has a little bit of that I wanna tear up, like a traveler, but she keeps a lot of it under check and she works to a game plan. And I think that she won't allow herself to be pushed into a brawl with Jessica, thereby taking away Jessica's best chances and best assets to win the fight. So yeah, I think it's not going to be plain sailing, but I think she's going to win not a comfortable but a fairly convincing unanimous decision victory.
And then she'll fight Chantel next year.
That's right. That's right.
And Chantel will beat her.
Are you intrigued by this fight, Charlie? Have you thought about it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what, man? I've been following women's boxing a little bit more closely over the years. I think they're really coming up in boxing and doing their thing. McCaskill, you know, she's coming off of a loss, and the loss that she suffered before that was against Katie Taylor. So it's been quite a while since she's suffered a loss. She's nearing 40 years old. Sandy Ryan, yeah, she doesn't have a lot of experience. I think she's got like 6-7 fights only compared to McCaskill's 15 fights or what have you. McCaskill coming out and saying what she said. I don't want to throw accusations out there, but it could be that if she loses, which I believe she's going to, it could be for her to come out and be saying like, yep, see, I told you. I told you so. That's what they do, man. I told you so. She's coming off a loss, guys. She's 39 years old. Women age differently than men. Okay, I'll just join D-Style and Beeb as the sexist pigs on this panel, man. But
the world is sexist. That's why we have NBA and WNBA. The world is sexist. I've been trying to tell D-Style. I've been telling D-Style that since he was a baby.
women age differently than men, and she's nearing 40 years old. I think this is it for her, man. I think Sandy comes out with looking really good. It starts as a great fight, but I think Sandy comes out looking pretty damn good in this fight.
It'll get away from Jessica towards the end.
Yeah, Dave, I have to say, I think this is going to be a very one-sided fight. So regardless of what Jessica said, regardless if she thinks the end is near, regardless if she thinks she's getting shafted, I think at the end of this fight, everyone's going to have a wide scorecard for Sandy Ryan if they're scoring at home. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, but it could very well be the passing of the torch here. And, you know, I started off the show, came on late and was kind of fired up about the Conor Benn thing, and Ring IQ brought up this great point that, you know, perhaps they're all on PEDs. But then I also have to give thought then that the promoter can easily sway judges, especially in a state like Florida, that the promoter can sway the judges the way they want to go. And I am reminded of what happened on that podcast where Jessica McCaskill made those accusations against Eddie. And I think that's going to absolutely play a factor here and the way the judges see the score. If it's possible that the promoters can sway judges. So I also don't think Jessica McCaskill has what's left in the tank to beat a strong, much taller and stronger opponent in Sandy Ryan. So even if the judges play it fair, I think she comes up on the short end on the decision this weekend.
Yeah.
You put me on the spot, babe, because I wasn't going to fucking say shit. I was just going to chill and watch the fucking fight. You fucking asked me about shit. I didn't know.
But you know what?
We're gonna make a short out of it too. Just put it out there. You know?
The thing is, you would only be able to hold it in so long. That's just your nature. You're a truth teller, man. You're a true believer, Ring. You're a true believer. You can't hide. You can't hide it.
I could try. I could hide behind a mic like this. Nobody can see me. I'm invisible.
Eventually, Waldo gets found.
Word, right?
Well, that'll do it, guys. This was a great discussion, great fiery topics tonight. Everyone had great input, and I want to thank everyone for joining. Thank Mike.
Juggernaut and 9, by the way. Juggernaut and 9.
Juggernaut and 9. Hey, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
These styles is fired up, man. Shit.
That's what
making me want to pick Joe.
Dang, man. Shit. Dang. I'm telling you guys, dang.
Yeah, Joe's going to win, man. Joe's going to knock him out in the 9th round.
Fucking hell. I'm getting nervous, man. The fuck?
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you in the chat. We will see you next week.
I'm getting to my bed. 2 p.m.
Base, thank you, man. Have a great night's sleep, man. Get that beauty sleep.
Conor Benn's back.